Across the realm, ominous towers of the Telophoroi's making strike into the heavens. Fueled by the pillaged piety of captured innocents, the final days, an apocalyptic threat unknown to living memory, looms on the horizon. Yet Sharlayan, the veritable capital of knowledge, would rebuke the Eorzean Alliance's plea for assistance. Undaunted, the Scions set forth to discover what wisdom could possibly lurk in turning a blind eye to a calamity. We have finalized the arrangements for our visit to Sharlayan. Not wanting to waste any time, the Scions travel to Limsa to catch the first ship to Sharlayan. We have to remember, we are to thwart the schemes of those who are hell-bent on destroying the world.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux. In uncertain times, naught but the simplest words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
The journey from Limsa to Sharlayan gives us time to rest, though our sleep is disturbed by a voice only we could hear. It beckons us out to the ship's deck. Hydaelyn waits for us at the stern of the vessel. Why does she only now speak with us after all this time? As we have gathered from our time in the first, she is a primal, a being summoned to contain Zodiac. However, those who cling to that bygone era have succeeded in rejoining 7 fragments. With each rejoining, her strength wanes. She no longer has the strength to pull our mind into the ethereal realm, let alone speak to us like this. But there are things that must not go unsaid. An intertwining of both her time and ours is beginning to form a conjunction. We'll shudder in turn. A monumental conflict looms which will decide the fate of this world and all life upon it. When we truly understand what is at stake and our journey has prepared us to surmount the insurmountable, then she shall honor the promise made in another time, another age. Hydaelyn refuses to keep us any longer, or rather, she is unable to manifest this corporeal form any longer. The rest of the Scions have awoken and gathered at the port side of the deck to behold Sharlayan in all its glory. Somewhere in this fount of wisdom lies the answers we seek.
Sharlayan, the solitary island nation of the northern seas, where under the watchful gaze of Thaliak, patron deity of scholars, academics hoard all manner of knowledge and secrets. Once, they deigned to accept foreign students into a distant colony maintained in the Dravanian hinterlands. How swiftly they abandoned it once the first Garlean boot set hostile foot on Alamegan soil. So averse to the prosecution of war, these men of wisdom, your would-be allies.
While the other Scions have ties to Sharlayan, both Estinian and the Warrior of Light do not. They are very careful when allowing foreigners into the city proper. Kral has arranged for us to enter as associates of the students of Baldessian to assist with restoring their order. Graha is a student of Baldessian and leads the group which should give some truth to our lie. The official quickly approves their application, and they see some of our other members are Archons. As for the Leviers, despite rumors of their father disowning them, they are also allowed in. As for the 2 foreigners, Kral had us listed as an adventurer, which we luckily guessed, but Estinian cannot lie on the spot and is saved when Krau claims he is a mercenary hired to protect her during her travels. The official believes them and all the Scions are allowed entry. As we said before, we don't have time to sightsee, and we should start putting our heads together, but Krau believes that we can spare a few hours to allow the Scions to visit places they haven't seen in years. It will also give her time to give us a tour. The tour is grand and visits every place important to Sharlayan, from the Last Stand, a place of culinary perfection, to the Rostra, where the Forum does its governance. It ends with the Baldessian Annex. This place was the second home of many students of Baldessian. It will now be the headquarters of the Scions for the time being. The Scions join us here in the Baldessian Annex, and with everyone gathered, it is time for action. We must prevent the Telophoroi's plan from coming to fruition. Therefore, Krau has two plans which may help us achieve this goal. The first plan is to investigate what has come over Sharlayan and the behavior of the Forum. The Forum is made up of 99 individuals. This should allow for a plethora of opinions to be had. Yet, the decision to refuse Eorzea was a unanimous vote, 99 against helping Eorzea. They turn away from the impending doom to face something else, but what could be more important than that? The second plan involves Fafnir. An alchemist named Nidana sent a missive which describes the sudden appearance of a tower and the subsequent summoning of lunar primals. Their alchemists have been charged with finding the means to deal with the spire. The way the alchemists work is unique compared to anything seen in Eorzea. There is a chance that they have gleaned truths we could have never conceived. There is only one slight, minor problem. These plans require us to lead the charge on both fronts, and as you know, there is only one of us. Therefore, we will have to hold off on one of these plans as we deal with the other. We decide to go with the first plan for now and hold off anything to do with Fafnir for the time being. We're already in Sharlayan, we might as well investigate this whilst we're already here. Krau has been searching through the Sharlayan historical archives alone to find any records related to the final days. It has been a long and arduous task, but now with the help of Graha, Y'shtola, Alphino, Alize, and us, it should proceed much quicker. We are directed to Numenon, a grand collection of books and tomes deeper than even the Great Cabal Library, to gather information on the final days. As we are a non-citizen, we do not have access to the plethora of knowledge our comrades do, and are permitted only the first floor. While we can find books that relate to Sharlayan history or foreign policy, we aren't learning anything we didn't already know. We are the first to return to the stone benches after finding no useful information. Our comrades slowly join us with a multitude of tomes they have gathered. Y'shtola mentions that Urianger learned about the truth of the world from a tome named the Gayran Oracles that was hidden in the Great Cabal Library's restricted section. Therefore, the information we seek will not be accessible to the public, though the tomes gathered could yet hold something of value. If you thought we could get out of reading duty, we couldn't. We ended up as Y'shtola's assistant and have been working to the bone for what feels like an eternity. Graciously, she lets us rest, as she can handle what remains on her own. Together with Alize, we head to the Last Stand for a coffee break and question some of the citizenry about the final days and the Telophoroi, but they refuse to cooperate. Aware of Alize's familial situation, they seal their mouths shut lest they be punished by the Forum for aiding us. So instead, Dickon, the man who runs the Last Stand, proposes we pretend to be a server. As we deliver food to customers, we could strike up a friendly conversation and gain the answers we seek. The Forum published the Telophoroi in the recent newspaper, so the general populace is at least aware of their existence. As for the final days, they haven't heard a thing. Yet, a Mikote named Smitu Tir tells us something of note. The Gleaners are working tirelessly. Gleaners travel the world and gather things that aren't available in Sharlayan. If the final days are happening, then uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. We report our findings to Alize, and we mull over what we have found over a hot cup of coffee. She brings us to a remote location not too far from the last stand, just far enough to be away from wagging tongues. While sitting here, we spot 2 boats carrying cargo down to Labyrinthos, a living library comprised of all flora and fauna they could fit. She remarks that the shipment was rather unusual. As a child, it would be rare to even see so much as a crate go down there. She connects the dots. What Smitotia said was true. The gleaners are moving around more than usual, and they answer directly to the forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi and the threat of the final days has prompted this burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the forum is planning. With haste, we return to our comrades at Numenon and tell them what we gleaned during our short break. They agree with our conclusion. It gives the impression that they have set an overarching plan in motion. Our next logical step is obvious: to visit Labyrinthos and assess the current situation for ourselves. Hopefully the gleaners will be more receptive of our questions. Graha will stay behind, as there are more tomes he wishes to research. As for the rest of us, we make the journey to Labyrinthos.
Deep beneath the scholar's city shines a false sun within a fabricated sky. In any age exist those who consider the floor an extension of their bookshelves, and this vault's architects surely belonged to that special breed. If the stack grows too high, start a new one. If no room remains, then make more rooms. A simple solution at first, and then bit by bit, a profound transformation. Knowledge buried beneath knowledge, a growing, creeping labyrinth from which there is no escape.
The sun, the flowing waters, and even the wind that caresses our skin are all man-made. What was once presumed to be a reservoir for magma was turned into a storage facility for scrolls. Upon its discovery, it was renovated into the magnificence we see before us. The lower levels are still being renovated to this day. We encounter overworked gleaners while searching for information, and learn that they are struggling to handle the large shipments coming in and out of Labyrinthos. One gleaner mentions escaped marmots, and we decide to help him in exchange for more answers. Upon returning the lost marmot, we learn that this gleaner's name is Erenville. He confirms for us that their current undertaking has come from the forum directly, though they do not know their motive. Alphino can also confirm that this operation wasn't set in motion until 4 days after the Telophoroi made their declaration. It seems like our conclusion was the correct one. The next place we are to go to is the Archaeon. We won't find the answers we seek on this floor of Labyrinthos, and need to move to the lower levels. The elevator here will take us down. However, the custodian denies us entry. Normally the middle section is open to the public, but ever since the reorganization efforts began, only those directly involved with the reorganization efforts may enter. Thus, we must look for alternative paths. Our snooping may have been too direct. It seems like the custodian is suspicious about our true motive. We aren't so easily deterred, and decide that we can find a way down the lift if we offer to help those who are involved with the reorganization efforts. The people around the Archaeon aren't willing to take us down with them, but one of them mentions that a gleaner fellow was spotted not too far from this location. He may be heading down soon, and may allow us to accompany him. This gleaner fellow the researcher spoke of was again Erenville. Again, we help him with some of his duties by catching a hornbill. Upon our success, he divulges even more information than before, seeing as he doesn't have any other way to repay the kindness we have shown him. He has been told to bring this hornbill below. to the lowest levels of Labyrinthos, which is the restricted section for highly confidential research. The area is only accessible to a select few chosen by the Forum, and those who work there are forced to live as they cannot share their research with the general populace. He believes the bird isn't being used for some kind of experiment, but for migration. They have been asked to procure fauna and flora that are suitable sources of sustenance. They have also chosen quite versatile species, capable of surviving in many different climates, and among those specimens there are those that are effective at improving soil quality and purifying water. But he must remind us that this is only an assumption. The Forum never directly tells the gleaners their motives, but sometimes the gleaners can glimpse bits of their plans. As for a method to reach the middle level, he cannot take us down the lift with him, but there is a second way down, though the path is much more dangerous. There is a mine shaft not too far from here that they excavated during one of their expansions. The path isn't known to many, but it should get us there if we have the strength to climb it. Following his directions to the T brings us down to the middle level, specifically known as the Medial Circuit. It is here that they keep a wide variety of samples for agricultural production. If Erenville's assumption is true, we should see evidence of a migration in the nearby research facilities. We follow the path that leads to the nearest farming facility, named Medial Agronomics. The workers seem to be as frantic as the gleaners on the upper level. They too have lists that are a mile long, asking for seeds that they have already thoroughly researched. Each worker is breaking their backs, moving crates up and down the lifts and various hills. On top of one particular hill are a dozen crates, and in front of it lies a peculiar flower. It is apparently known as a heartbloom. Its origin is unknown, and it's a mystery to even the best scholars here in Labyrinthos. The only thing they can ascertain is that it reacts to emotions by changing its color. Currently, it is ashen grey to reflect the anxiety and urgency of the sudden orders given by the Forum. While this is fascinating knowledge, it doesn't necessarily help us understand what the Forum's true goal is. It would be easier if we could interrogate a Forum member directly. At that very same moment, we see Erenville make his own way down to the middle floor to deliver a report on everything the Gleaners have done thus far. If the Gleaners answer to the Forum directly, wouldn't it make sense for his report to be handed to an official Forum member? Loath we are to do something that may put Erenville in jeopardy. We need to eavesdrop on his conversation if we are to learn anything about the Forum's plan. In order to avoid drawing attention to ourselves while trying to tail him, Y'shtola transforms Alphino, Alize, and us into toads. By blending in with the environment, we are able to listen in on the conversation without being noticed. We learn that they are happy with the progress thus far and will compensate them eventually, but they must continue their work for the time being. However, the Forum legislator is unaware of the Gleaners' poor condition. To quell the Gleaners' potential uprising, Erenville believes they should be informed of what they are working towards. They are also Sharlayan scholars and deserve to know. The Forum legislator has this to say: "In an age long past, Sharlayan was charged with a momentous duty. And now that word of the final days hangs heavy in the air, the time has come for us to fulfill that charge." That is all he can say on that matter, but when all is revealed, they will know that their toll served the greater good. This won't be enough to quell the Gleaners, but for the time being, they will continue to do their bidding. As Erenville leaves, he turns and looks directly at us. He stares long and hard at our toad exterior, before saying he hopes that the information was informative. He now considers his debt repaid in full. As to how he knew it was us and not some random toads, he is an expert. If we mean to impersonate a toad, then try to study the real thing. It seems like Erenville has placed his trust in us and forgives us for eavesdropping on his conversation. We have learned that the Forum is privy to knowledge that nobody else knows, some kind of momentous duty that they discovered a long time ago. It gives weight to the idea that they had this operation planned long before the Telophoroi was conceived. They were only waiting for the right moment to enact it. We need to speak with Kryl and decide where to go from here, yet she is gone. Y'shtola bade her to return to the farm and rest, but doubts she is even there. Instead, she believes Kryl might be near those heart blooms from before. It would be remiss of me to mention that this entire time Kryl has been acting strange. Ever since she set foot into Labyrinthos, we could tell something was wrong. It was as if she was distracted by something, to a point where she almost fell when we were climbing in the cave earlier, and she was entranced by those heartbloom flowers. Returning to that hill, we yet again find her entranced by those self-same flowers. She plucks one of the flowers, casts a spell to stop it from wilting, and then gives it to us, saying she said we will need it for the journey ahead, and asks if we will speak with her now. Kryl closes her eyes and allows Hydaelyn to take control. She needed to speak with us and give us this flower. She tells us to take it with us on our journey and walk free, for we are free, free to go where we wish, to believe what we want to believe. That flower will be our guide, proof of our conviction. In darkness seek joy, surrender not to sadness, and see beyond despair. Walk free and bear the light for others to follow. Together raise it aloft and let it shine, till the end, blinding and radiant. Kryl collapses to the floor, Hydaelyn gone. Once she arrived in Labyrinthos, she could feel another's will calling out to her, but it was extremely weak, almost as if it weren't there at all. As she moved around Labyrinthos, it became stronger and stronger, and it wasn't until she came face to face with the Heartblooms that she was able to create a link and allow Hydaelyn to speak with us. Though her words are as cryptic as ever, she at least left a guide with us, the flower. We have definitely begun to make progress. Our conversation is interrupted by Alisaie shouting, saying they've done nothing wrong. Worried as we are, we head to their location and see Fortunol here with the other Forum members. If you remember the Archeon custodian from before, he reported a band of individuals bearing the name Students of Baldessian are snooping in the Forum's business. Normally seeking knowledge and truths is celebrated in Sharlayan, but the timing needs to be considered, not to mention the potential impact our intrusion might have on their plan. The world is on the brink of chaos, and the Forum is working on a plan of utmost secrecy. They cannot compromise this plan's success by turning a blind eye to us. The Forum will convene and examine our case. The results will determine our future in this city. As for G'raha, he has already been apprehended and brought to the Forum for reading in the library's restricted section. Y'shtola admits it would be easier if we agreed to go along with him. In fact, it gives us a chance to have an open dialogue with the Forum instead. G'raha apologizes for getting caught in the Forbidden Archives, but he believes his time there was well spent. The Forum's proceedings are about to start, and Fortunol must explain why everyone was summoned with haste. He announces that these individuals are the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, who, after Eorzea was denied aid, are interfering with state secrets, and suggests that they expel the Scions before they can ruin the Forum's plan. The Telophoroi will lay waste to all we hold dear, and in doing so, Eorzea reached out to Sharlayan for aid, and instead, they were denied. Is their monumentous duty of age-long past so important that it triumphs the end of the world? G'raha, who was not present in Labyrinthos, studied the Forum's policy-making process and observed an odd trend. Initially, it preserved knowledge for the benefit of society. However, after the scholars began studying the ethereal sea in the Dravanian hinterlands, the policies focused on reshaping society for the preservation of knowledge, which gave rise to their duty. This discovery leads us to believe that the scholars may have found something significant in the ethereal sea. It seems like the forum members are incapable of speaking about this topic, as one of them attempts to, but it's almost as if his throat sealed shut. Fortunol admits that they have a duty, but what will we have him do? They will not join us on the battlefield and go to war. Instead, they will survive. They must. They can do whatever they want, but the Scions will fight until the heavens fall, until our last breaths. We trust in ourselves to do what is right, as others have trusted in us. We will continue on as we always have. A member named Montaigne, a good friend of Louis Soir, interrupts and suggests that they return to the topic at hand. The Scions admit to fighting alongside the other Eorzean nations against the Telophoroi, yet there is no evidence that states that they have attempted to incite the citizens to do the same. He admits that whilst their duty might be the correct one, they cannot ignore these disagreements. Instead, they must offer a fair hand and conclude this matter. The speaker agrees with him and proposes the following measures. The students of Baldessian are to cease all activities within the domain of Sharlayan. We will also refrain from any further investigations into the forum's decisions and duties. Failure to comply with these restrictions will cause immediate expulsion of her Scion associates. The vote is cast, and in the end, the result is 51 for and 48 against, meaning the proposal is passed. Either we abide by it or face the consequences. Though the outcome wasn't in our favor, if not for Montaigne's interruption, we may have well been cast out of the city proper. The Scions discovered that the forum's duty is related to something they found in the ethereal sea, but cannot research that point any further in Sharlayan. Just as Alize and Alphino begin to question their father's motives, their mother, Ameliance, calls out to them and requests that we visit House Leveilleur along with them. We decide to indulge her request and are to escort the twins to House Leveilleur. The grandeur of this house amazes us, even though Alize insists that it is just a house. Ameliance asks the attendants to bring them to their rooms so they can receive their gifts, leaving her and the Warrior of Light alone. She reveals that the twins have been writing letters which recount their adventures in Eorzea, where they found value in every experience and were most impacted by meeting us, whose name they mentioned in every letter. It is clear that they deeply care for us. She wants to hear some tales from our perspective while we wait for them to return. We while away the time and the twins return wearing new outfits. Both outfits match the twins' style perfectly. The gifts for Alphino specifically do not end here. He is given his father's new liths and a sage job crystal. Back in his youth, he wielded these sage armaments to heal and harm. He is given them to remind him that his father was not always the man who stands in opposition to them now. Ameliance's final gift to them is an observation and a suggestion. She notes their father did not lose himself in his work until after they were born, suggesting that the timing of the change may hold a significance. Her advice for them is to not beat him with words, but to show him the merit of their actions, so he can discover it on his own, after it cannot be undone. After receiving gifts from Ameliance and spending time with Alize and Alphino at House Leveilleur, we depart. We hope for the day when the Leveilleur twins can reconcile with their father. In the meantime, we will continue our quest in Thavnir, with the guidance of the flower Hydaelyn bequeathed to us.